Every single day, we are being influenced, whether this is by strangers, leaders, friends, or even our enemies. And most of the time, we don't really notice. I'm going to reveal some important occult secrets that are taught in some ancient traditions that describe the purpose and the process of creation as well as influence. For those of you who are new here to this channel, my name is Will and this is the Esoteric Cross. I make videos about how to gain your personal power while learning ancient secrets, and if that sounds like something that you're into, please hit the like button and subscribe and gain insight from this perspective in the cosmos. Throughout history, secret orders have held sacred knowledge about how to shape reality. This is partly involved with ritual, magic, symbolism, but also involves these other subtle layers, shaping the thoughts and the actions of the self and others. Many years ago, I got really interested in this topic, which is ultimately what led me down this path of initiation in the first place. I found it so interesting that there were so many places that had all of this symbolism just laid out. I was really interested in topics that are pertaining to tarot and Kabbalah, and why in the world are so many powerful systems in the world mirroring these ancient traditions? What is the importance of that, and what's the importance of all of this symbolism? And I figured there had to be something true within these ancient systems, and the evidence of that is right there within the success of all of these things that mirror them. I knew that it had something to do with power, which really intrigued me, and as I dived deeper into all of these topics, I realized that it did have to do with power, but not exactly in the way that I thought it did. It has a lot to do with the inner power, the power that you find within the self and empowering the self. This is also why this channel's slogan is gaining your personal power while learning ancient secrets. I found it my mission to help use these ideas to empower other people and awaken the power within other people so that it can help you find lasting fulfillment and do what it is that you feel like you came here to do on this earth. So a lot of the topics here on this channel are going to be related to understanding the self, how the self operates, but it's also about understanding power and how power operates. What we're going to do is break down this powerful wisdom here in this video by using the occult tradition of Kabbalah. I remember the first time that I started to get into Kabbalah, and it felt like there was so much ancient wisdom in there, and it felt like I was getting so many downloads on how the world operates and how myself operates. So I'm going to share a few of those secrets here with you today, but first we have to understand exactly what Kabbalah is. Kabbalah is this ancient form of Jewish mysticism, which involves this diagram called the Tree of Life. And for those of you who are new to the concept of Kabbalah or the Tree of Life, think about it like a map of divinity or a map of God or the universe or creation. This is not a 3D physical object that is just out there floating around and that we're within. This is a blueprint, and like I said, it's like a map. It's kind of like a psychological structure, but this definitely goes a lot deeper than just psychology. So where do we see this Tree of Life? We see it in so many different places that we probably don't even realize it, whether this is in entertainment, the media. We might know that Madonna has this fascination with Kabbalah. You can even see it in the streets of Washington, D.C. So what is the point of using the symbolism so much? It must have some sort of power within it. You've got to think about it like this too. If a whole lot of people were to get together and to believe one system, they are charging the system with a lot of power. And not that I think Kabbalah is just a belief system. I think that it runs a lot deeper than that. It was created by these people who were very, very interested in trying to understand how God spoke the universe into existence. So there's a lot of emphasis on language and how language is power, how words are infused with power. That is why when you get into the realm of the occult, you see so much emphasis on the Hebrew language, these Hebrew letters. Aside from language, we see this complex system in a way of organizing consciousness, and we see it as a way of describing how consciousness operates. So one of the key principles here is that all is consciousness. All is divinity. All is the oneness. It is God. And that concept might be kind of hard to take in, especially when you look out and you see all of these evils and injustices within the world and within society. But this Tree of Life has a really good way of explaining a lot of this kind of stuff. If you're to zoom in on your own life and you look at all of these challenges and difficulties that you face on a normal day-to-day basis, you can see how a lot of these things push you and push you and push you to grow and expand your knowledge, your repertoire, expanding your experience, strengthening your resilience. And this is helping you to grow as a person and to gain more knowledge and data. This doesn't just happen on a microcosmic level, it also happens on a more macrocosmic level. That is a part of the process of creation and development. There is a magnificent amount of power that can be found in learning Kabbalah and studying this tree of life. This is about awakening to this power that you have within you as a divine spark, as a creator. As above, so below is a common term that you will hear within occultism. You could think of it as being made in the image of the creator. You can think of it in the way that atoms mirror a solar system or a galaxy, or how our cells can mirror the body and how they contain these organelles just as our body contains organs. The same properties that the universe or God contains as this oneness of consciousness, this source, you contain as well. The power is within you. And this is all about waking up to that power and using it in some way. This also has a lot of manifestation properties with that key word, the creator. I am the creator. So what do I mean when I'm talking about the oneness of divinity? It's the idea that all consciousness is one. So if you were to think about it like this, if you were to zoom out of the world and you were to look at the world as just one living being, it is one organism with all of these parts playing their part within society, within evolution, within the environment. There are so many different things here that causes different chain reactions and can contribute to the evolution of the world or even a regression. Now take this a step back and look at the entire solar system, or how about the galaxy, or even outside of time and space, and look at the oneness of everything existing as it is. This is what I mean. There is this underlying energy behind our ego, behind the persona, behind the mask, behind all of this. And that is the oneness. It is connected. Also, think about your intuition and how you might know something that somebody else is doing or thinking, or maybe you get this idea to create something that somebody else in the world also is having this idea to create at the same time. We are all connected, almost like there's this vast network of connections between us. And this is what I'm talking about. Now, this oneness of divinity follows this process, which can be mapped out using the Kabbalistic tree of life. And like I said, it's like a blueprint of how something can come into manifestation. Now, it's not just a blueprint about how something comes into manifestation. Each sphere along this tree of life also represents an aspect of your consciousness and how you operate. It's like a mode of operation. And understanding this process in great detail has powerful benefits when it comes to the process of manifestation. And if you were to manifest something consciously while keeping this in mind, I think you might be surprised about what comes about if you're observant of it. Kabbalah is a really complex topic, and if you want to dive a little bit deeper into an introduction of it, I highly recommend checking out my Kabbalah course for beginners. I'll leave the link in the description below if you're interested. It's filled with lectures and many practical ways to use these spheres of the tree of life within manifestation. It contains meditations, rituals, and also describes how to use Kabbalah with many other traditions to expand your knowledge of the topic. If you're interested, make sure to sign up so you don't miss out on that opportunity. We've got to talk about these three pillars. This is one of the biggest things. You might see these three pillars within three branches of government. You have lots of holy trinities within different religions. Also, you can bring your attention to mother, father, child. These are principles of creation. You have two things that are kind of like two polarities, and then you have a middle way, a mediator. You can also think of this as the child, but also the source. This is a really interesting topic when you get into Kabbalah, and there are so many different ways that you can look at this. Typically, we see these three pillars as a masculine pillar, a feminine pillar, and an equilibrium. But this doesn't necessarily mean male and female. These are just alchemical principles, so you can think of them as internal female and external male. The masculine pillar is considered to be the pillar of mercy. The feminine pillar is considered to be the pillar of severity. This can seem backwards to a lot of people, but there's actually some good reasons for viewing it this way. And another thing I want to say is you can find a bit of one within the other as well. One thing is not entirely masculine or external, and one thing is not always entirely feminine or internal. They play off of each other, and one will emanate the other. So if we start with Kether, the top sphere on the tree of life, Kether means the crown, and this is that oneness of divinity that I was talking about. What happens is it will emanate another sphere. So it emanates Hakma, which is the second sphere, which is the top sphere on the masculine pillar. And from Hakma, Binah, the top sphere on the feminine pillar, is emanated. Basically, one emanates the other and it keeps going through this process of creation. So you can think of it like one is passive and receptive from the one before it, while that same sphere is also active and projective to the one after it. The point of the pillar of mercy is expansion and going outwards. We're talking about the pillar of force. The feminine pillar is the pillar of form. It is something that is creating structure and it is receiving the force. But at the same time that it's receiving the force, it is creating more structure and it is giving that back to the other side. So Kether, the oneness, will emanate Hakma, wisdom, which will emanate Binah, which is understanding, and this understanding feminine principle will emanate Chesed, which is mercy, and we're talking about expansion, abundance, growth, even worldly power. And this will emanate Geburah, which is related to Mars, so we're talking about destructive energies. It's related to strength and power and severity. This destructive force kind of acts like a digestion. And this will emanate Tiferet, which means beauty, a very important sphere that we can get into in a minute. Tiferet will emanate Netzach. Netzach means victory, and also Venus is ruling emotions, beauty, love, and art. Netzach will then emanate Had, which is splendor. Had is related to Mercury, so we're talking about the mind, logistics, the intellect. These are all qualities that are creating this internalization, the structure of the mind, which then will emanate Yesod. Yesod related to the moon. We have more themes of the subconscious mind, the astral energies, the energies that is just behind the physical, which then will emanate Malkuth, which is the 3D physical reality, the body, structure, true structure, form, a manifestation. This is also a very important sphere as it represents the fruit of the tree of life. This is what is actually grown and produced from the creative process. Now, this is what is really interesting. You have this fruit, and think about what fruit does. It contains the seeds to grow another tree. So when you plant the fruit, it will grow another tree. Or you can take in the fruit, eat it, digest it, and use it as sustenance. The point is that it has a purpose to fill and it has magnificent potential. And then you have that concept in Kabbalah where the tree of life doesn't stop there at Malkuth. It creates another tree. And also within numerology, a 10 is reduced back down to a 1. So this Malkuth creates a Kether of another world. And the Malkuth of the new tree of life creates another tree of life and another tree. And the process just keeps going. This is the purpose of influence. This is where we're getting to the core idea of the topic of influencing other people, but this goes much deeper than that. It's influencing all of consciousness, all of reality. And you do that consciously with your creative process. Think about the waves that you actually make. And think about the waves that you actually make with other people involved in this process as well. So we got to back up a tiny bit and talk about this middle pillar and the significance of all of these spheres within this middle pillar. Malkuth, of course, you have the 3D physical reality, the fruit, the creation. So think about it as what it is that you create, or also the result of all of your manifestations. So think about maybe it's your home, maybe it's your body and your health, maybe it's your career, your money, whatever your financial standing is. Maybe it's the art that you make, the music that you write, the stories that you create. And also think about how you are the Malkuth of divinity. So you are a manifestation of something bigger. Just behind this, with Yesod, we have the astral energies. And just beyond that, you have the solar energies with Tiferet. Tiferet is related to the sun. It's related to Christ consciousness, Christ being the light. Christ is the Son of God, S-U-N. Also, think about what the sun is. What it does is it shines its light out. You can't run away from the sun. The sun is there. It gives us our source of light. It's our source of life. All of the manifestation, at least here within Earth, all of it gets its energy from the sun. Without the sun, there is no body, there is no earth, and there is no consciousness. So Tiferet can kind of represent the soul. It also can be related to the ego. not in an arrogant or egotistical way. What I mean by related to the ego is having a strong ego or a strong structure, something that is resilient and is able to get back up every time it falls down. Notice too how Tiferet is emanated from Geburah. Geburah represents what falls down, the digestion, and how something is destroyed. And you can kind of view Tiferet as the phoenix that rises from those ashes, the sun that shines through from that process. You might also notice that all of these paths lead to Tiferet. Tiferet is an extremely important sphere. It represents your higher consciousness, a higher state of awareness, a higher self. And it is also representing the divine spark within you. This is the key right here, is Tiferet. Above Tiferet, you have the hidden sphere called Da'ath, which is located at the abyss. Da'ath means knowledge, and of course this could be related to hidden knowledge. But the abyss is what separates human consciousness from divinity, the world of archetypes. So the first 3 spheres is the archetypal world. This is not human consciousness, but this is about that consciousness that is behind all of these processes that I've been talking about. We're talking about the oneness in the world of archetypes that emanates from that oneness. So if we are to view Kether, the top sphere on this middle pillar, as the oneness of divinity, it spirals out some sort of desire. It wants to create something, and it's going to do it through you if you are open to the channel of that middle pillar. So the purpose. You have some sort of purpose here. A lot of people move through their life without a North Star, without thinking about what their purpose is. It's waking up, going to work, paying the bills, coming home, watching TV, going to sleep, and repeat. Rinse and repeat. And not that there's anything wrong with some of those things, especially if you know that you have a purpose and you have a North Star that you're still working on. But the whole point of this is waking up to that true creative power that's within and figuring out what it is that you're supposed to be doing with it. You could call this your Dharma, you could call this your great work, but the whole idea is to be able to climb this tree of life, so to be able to work through each of these spheres, which each one has its vices and virtues. We have lessons to learn with each of these, almost like a grade of initiation. And as we reach the top, we reach this oneness. Our job is to pull that oneness and that light down and disseminate its rays. Your job in life is to be a container for this light. So I would take this moment to encourage you to follow your North Star. Follow what it is that you feel like your purpose is. And it might not be become rich and famous and become a rock star. It could be something that is more subtle and more simple. For a lot of people, it really is. But the point is if you know what it is, you know what you enjoy doing and what you're good at, and you put yourself out there in that way, and be conscious of the creative process, be conscious of what it is that you're doing and how you're spreading that light, how you are keeping yourself a strong container, a strong vessel for this light, then you are following the right path. That is the whole purpose of all of this stuff. This is how you influence people. The thing is that you do influence people all the time on a regular basis. Everybody contains these tree of life energies. Most people don't realize it. But the point is that they do contain them, and they are influenced by this process whether they know it or not. And they play a huge part in this process whether they know it or not. So I encourage you to think about it like this. You have a desire to create something. You let it stimulate your potential within you. You feel the surge of energy and a call towards a certain direction. You let this cultivate some sort of understanding within you, and you follow it to a place of expansion and growth. You have trials, tribulations. You have things in your path that are designed to break you down and to cut away ties and digest these energies. Then you have a core, a truth, a new awareness, a new way of being that arises. This will create a sense of victory, which will in turn be internalized as we are building our skills, building our structures within, and we finally build up our foundation in a way to bring this creation into being through the birthing process. As we reach a final manifestation, this fruit of the tree of life, that final manifestation, has the seeds to grow another tree. So this will start a whole nother tree. Now that you've completed that song, you've completed that story that you've written, it's time to do something with it. Whether it's recording the song, whether it's publishing the story. Then after that, you've got to go out there and promote it. Also, people take this in. People take in the music, they take in the story, and in a less extravagant way, maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's this video that you're watching, maybe it's being there for a friend. But the point is that somebody takes in this fruit and it interacts with their energies, their Tiferet, their higher awareness. It's taken into their energy system and they digest it, and there's something that they've got to do with it. So maybe somebody hears that song and it changes their life. Maybe somebody hears your story and it changes absolutely everything that they think. And this can happen in seemingly lesser or more superficial ways, like maybe you see somebody lose a bunch of weight and you think, wow, I can do that. Or you see somebody make more money or get out of debt and you think, wow, this is possible. You see somebody grow within their life and then it inspires you to grow. This also happens the other way around, where we might see people do things that we wouldn't necessarily do, and it can change something within our consciousness to help us lead into a different direction as well. The point is that there is this ripple effect. Whatever you're doing, you are changing people's lives and you are influencing people, and you might not even know it. But the point of this video is to help guide you to have more observation within this process. And Kabbalah is so powerful because it's a system that can help you focus on your aspirations, which can also lead you to so much more fulfillment. I want this video to be empowering, to help you fill everything that you do in your life with intention and with light. As you can see, this is not intended to be used for tricks and manipulation. This is centered on alignment with the divine. You hold the wisdom, the same wisdom that has built empires. Influence is the shadow of inner mastery. Master yourself and the world will follow. Make sure to check out the links in the description to see the courses that I offer, like the course on Qabalah, as well as a course on Kabbalah and Tarot. I also have a beginning course in Tarot that starts at the beginning of the month, so check that out if you're interested as well. I'll also leave the link to where you can book a tarot reading with me or a coaching session, and also my Patreon if you're interested in some live streams. And I hope that there was something new that you were able to take away from this video. If so, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.